The Anushasana Parva is one of the significant books of the Mahabharata, where the themes of duty, morality, and governance are deeply explored. After the devastating Kurushetra war, the Pandavas emerge victorious, but the cost of the battle weighs heavily on everyone. The book begins with Yudistira, the eldest Pandava, sinking into a deep sense of grief and guilt over the deaths caused during the war, particularly those of his family members, teachers, and friends. He feels unworthy of kingship and questions the morality of his actions and decisions. Yudistira's sorrow leads him to seek guidance from Bheeshma, the grand patriarch of the Kuru dynasty, who lies on a bed of arrows, awaiting his death. Bheeshma, known for his wisdom and unparalleled knowledge, agrees to impart his teachings to Yudistira and the Pandavas. What follows is a profound discourse on dharma, or righteousness, covering a wide range of topics relevant to kingship, governance, and personal conduct. Bheeshma emphasizes the responsibilities of a king and the importance of ruling with justice and compassion. He advises Yudistira on how to balance the duties of a ruler with the ethical dilemmas one faces in the course of governance. These lessons are not only intended for the king, but also carry universal truths applicable to human life. One of the central teachings of Bheeshma in the Anushasana Parva is the importance of charity and the spirit of selflessness. He narrates stories and parables to illustrate the virtues of giving and the benefits it brings to both the giver and the receiver. Bheeshma also speaks extensively on the importance of truth, non-violence, and restraint. He delves into the significance of fulfilling one's duties without attachment to the results, a principle that aligns with the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. In doing so, he reinforces the idea that dharma is the foundation upon which a stable and harmonious society is built. The discourse takes a spiritual turn as Bheeshma discusses the role of rituals, sacrifices, and devotion in leading a virtuous life. He explains the importance of adhering to religious practices while maintaining inner purity and intent. Bheeshma also highlights the interconnectedness of all beings and the need for compassion and empathy in dealing with others. He speaks about the duties of various social roles, the ethical treatment of animals, and the significance of respecting elders and teachers. As Yudistira listens to Bheeshma's wisdom, he gains clarity and begins to overcome his guilt and doubt. The teachings help him understand that the war, though tragic, was necessary to uphold dharma and restore order. Bheeshma's words inspire Yudistira to embrace his responsibilities as a king and lead his people with justice and compassion. Bheeshma concludes his discourse by emphasizing the transient nature of life and the importance of seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death. The Anushasana Parva concludes with Bheeshma's passing. As the time of his death approaches, he withdraws his mind from worldly concerns and focuses on meditation and devotion to Lord Krishna. Surrounded by the Pandavas, Krishna, and other sages, Bheeshma breathes his last, attaining moksha or liberation. His death marks the end of an era and leaves an indelible legacy of wisdom and righteousness that continues to guide generations. Through its profound teachings, the Anushasana Parva offers timeless lessons on ethics, governance, and spirituality, serving as a beacon of guidance for those seeking to navigate the complexities of life with wisdom and integrity. The Ashwamedha Parva of the Mahabharata unfolds after the catastrophic war of Kurushetra, where the Pandavas emerge victorious but deeply scarred by the immense loss of life. Yudistira is crowned as the king of Hastinapura, yet his heart remains heavy with guilt and sorrow over the destruction the war has caused. In an effort to absolve himself and the kingdom of the sins of war and to establish his sovereignty, Yudistira is advised to perform the Ashwamedha Yajna, an ancient Vedic ritual symbolizing the assertion of a king's supreme authority over the land. The preparation for the Ashwamedha Yajna begins with meticulous arrangements. A consecrated horse, adorned with gold and precious ornaments, is released to wander freely for a year. The horse's movements are a symbolic proclamation of the king's dominion, and any kingdom where the horse roams must either accept the authority of the releasing king or face war. Arjuna, the great warrior and brother of Yudistira, is chosen to lead the army accompanying the horse. His role is to protect the horse and subdue any challengers who dare to contest the sovereignty of the Pandavas. As the horse traverses various lands, it encounters resistance in some regions and is welcomed in others. Arjuna, with his unparalleled skill and valor, defeats those who oppose the Pandavas' rule but spares their lives, choosing to win over their allegiance rather than annihilate them. The journey of the horse becomes a series of encounters that illustrate the changing political landscape of the time. Many rulers submit willingly, acknowledging the Pandavas' authority, while others challenge Arjuna in battle before ultimately conceding. Through these events, the narrative highlights Arjuna's prowess, strategic brilliance, and sense of justice. Among the notable events during the Ashwamedha Parva is the reunion between Arjuna and his son, Babhruvahana, born to Chitrangada, the princess of Manipur. When the horse enters Manipur, Babhruvahana confronts Arjuna in battle, unaware of their relationship. In the ensuing combat, Babhruvahana defeats Arjuna and strikes him down. However, the intervention of Ulupi, Arjuna's Naga wife, leads to his revival using a mystical gem. This episode serves as a poignant reminder of the complex relationships and emotional undercurrents within the Mahabharata. Meanwhile, back in Hastinapura, preparations for the grand Ashwamedha sacrifice continue. The yajna itself is an elaborate ritual requiring immense resources and the participation of learned priests, sages, and dignitaries. Yudistira oversees the proceedings with the guidance of Krishna, who ensures that every aspect of the ritual is conducted with precision and adherence to Vedic principles. The yajna is not only a political act, but also a deeply spiritual one, aimed at restoring harmony and balance to the realm after the chaos of war. As the horse completes its year-long journey and returns to Hastinapura, the yajna culminates in a grand ceremony. The captured rulers are invited to the capital, where they are treated with respect and honor, further cementing their allegiance to Yudistira. The sacrifice of the horse is performed with solemnity, symbolizing the purification of the land and the affirmation of Yudistira's rightful rule. The ritual also serves as a moment of spiritual reflection, emphasizing the transient nature of power and the importance of dharma. The Ashwamedha Parva concludes with a sense of resolution and hope. Yudistira, having fulfilled his duties as a king and performed the yajna, finds a measure of peace and acceptance. The kingdom begins to heal from the wounds of war, and the Pandavas, guided by Krishna's wisdom, continue to rule with justice and compassion. The Ashwamedha Parva, through its intricate narrative and profound themes, underscores the enduring values of duty, sacrifice, and the pursuit of harmony in a world fraught with challenges. The Ashramvasika Parva of the Mahabharata is a poignant and somber section of the epic, focusing on the twilight years of the Kuru elders and the transition of the Pandavas as rulers of Hastinapura. After the Kurushetra war, peace is restored in the kingdom, but the wounds of the war linger in the hearts of the survivors. Yudistira rules with justice and wisdom, yet the shadows of the past weigh heavily on the family. This parva tells the tale of the aging king Dhritarashtra, his wife Gandhari, and their eventual departure to the forest for ascetic life, marking the end of an era. Dhritarashtra, the blind king who once ruled Hastinapura, lives in the royal palace under the care of Yudistira and his brothers. However, the burden of his past decisions, particularly his inability to prevent the war and the loss of all his sons, torments him deeply. Gandhari, though equally grieved, remains steadfast in her devotion and restraint. Despite the comforts of palace life, both Dhritarashtra and Gandhari feel out of place, their hearts yearning for solitude and spiritual liberation. Vidura, the wise minister and half-brother of Dhritarashtra, also resides in the palace, offering sage counsel and support to the grieving king. The tensions between Bhima and Dhritarashtra form a subtle undercurrent during their stay. Bhima, the slayer of all 100 Kaurava brothers during the war, often becomes a painful reminder to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari of their irreparable loss. Though Yudistira and the other Pandavas show great reverence and care, the guilt and sorrow of the past create an invisible barrier. Finally, driven by the desire to renounce worldly attachments and seek solace in the forest, Dhritarashtra decides to leave the palace. Gandhari, ever loyal to her husband, resolves to accompany him, and Kunthi, the mother of the Pandavas, surprisingly chooses to join them as well, demonstrating her deep sense of detachment and duty. The departure of the elders is a moment of deep sorrow and reflection for the Pandavas. They gather to bid farewell to their mother, uncle, and aunt, unable to hold back their tears. The separation is particularly painful for Sahadeva, who shares a special bond with his mother Kunthi. Despite their grief, the Pandavas honor the elders' decision, understanding that their journey is one of spiritual liberation. Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and Kunthi leave for the forest, accompanied by Vidura and Sanjaya, the faithful charioteer and chronicler of the Kuru dynasty. In the forest, the group adopts a life of asceticism, engaging in meditation, prayer, and penance. They find a semblance of peace in their simple existence, away from the palace and its memories. Vidura, who has long lived a life of detachment, soon attains liberation through his intense spiritual practices. His passing is marked by a mystical union with Yudistira when the king visits the forest, symbolizing the eternal connection between the seeker and the truth. The narrative takes a tragic turn when a forest fire engulfs the hermitage where Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and Kunthi reside. Rather than fleeing, the elders choose to embrace the fire as their final act of renunciation, accepting it as a means to achieve liberation from the cycle of life and death. Their end is both sorrowful and profound, representing the culmination of a life marked by great trials, mistakes, and redemption. When the news of their demise reaches Hastinapura, the Pandavas are overwhelmed with grief. They perform the final rites with great reverence, mourning the loss of their elders while reflecting on the impermanence of life. The Ashramvasika Parva serves as a powerful reminder of the inevitability of aging, the importance of forgiveness, and the ultimate quest for liberation. It brings closure to the lives of some of the most pivotal characters in the Mahabharata, leaving behind a legacy of endurance, repentance, and spiritual wisdom. The Mausala Parva of the Mahabharata is a grim and tragic tale, narrating the decline and destruction of the Yadava dynasty, marking the end of Krishna's earthly presence. After the great Kurushetra war and the Pandavas' ascension to power, the Yadavas, who had been instrumental in supporting the Pandavas and shaping the outcome of the war, find themselves living in peace in Dwaraka. However, the seeds of their downfall are sown through internal strife, arrogance, and a series of divine events. The story begins with the Yadavas growing increasingly complacent and indulgent. The prosperity and power of their kingdom lead them to arrogance and disregard for Dharma. A group of Yadava youths, in a moment of mischief, decide to mock the visiting sages, including Narada, Vishwamitra, and Kanva. They disguise a young Yadava boy as a pregnant woman and present him before the sages, asking them to predict the gender of the unborn child. The sages, angered by this insolence, curse them, declaring that the disguised boy will give birth to an iron club that will lead to the destruction of the Yadava race. The curse begins to manifest soon after. The next day, an iron club is found in the boy's stomach. Alarmed, the Yadavas try to destroy the object by grinding it into powder and throwing it into the sea. However, a small piece of the club remains intact and is swallowed by a fish, while the powder washes ashore and grows into sharp, reed-like grass. The fish is later caught, and the iron piece is retrieved by a hunter named Jara, who unknowingly becomes an instrument in the unfolding tragedy. As time passes, the curse takes its toll on the Yadavas. A sense of doom and unrest begins to spread through the once prosperous kingdom. Krishna, aware of the inevitability of destiny, refrains from intervening. Instead, he advises the Yadavas to undertake a pilgrimage to Parvas to purify themselves and seek atonement. The Yadavas agree and set out, but during their stay at Parvas, they succumb to excessive drinking and lose control over their tempers. A brawl breaks out among them, fueled by old rivalries and simmering tensions. In the chaos, the reeds made from the cursed iron powder are used as weapons. The Yadavas, unable to restrain themselves, turn on one another, and a violent massacre ensues. Brothers kill brothers, friends kill friends, and the once mighty dynasty destroys itself in a brutal and senseless conflict. Krishna's elder brother, Balarama, witnesses the carnage with deep sorrow. He retreats to a forest, where he assumes a meditative posture and relinquishes his life, merging into the ocean as a great serpent, signifying his divine origin as an incarnation of Shesha, the cosmic serpent. Krishna, now alone, wanders to a secluded forest. He lies beneath a tree, contemplating the destruction of his kinsmen and the fulfillment of his earthly mission. It is here that the hunter Jara, mistaking Krishna's foot for the ear of a deer, shoots an arrow made from the iron piece of the cursed club. Realizing his mistake, Jara approaches Krishna in deep remorse, but Krishna consoles him, explaining that the act was preordained and that his time on earth has come to an end. Krishna's soul departs his mortal body, marking the departure of the divine incarnation who had guided humanity through its greatest trials. As Dwaraka sinks into the ocean, following Krishna's departure, the last remnants of the Yadava kingdom disappear. The news of Krishna's demise reaches the Pandavas, who are heartbroken. Understanding that the age of Dharma is nearing its end, they prepare to renounce their worldly responsibilities and embark on their final journey. The Mausala Parva is a somber reflection on the inevitable decline of even the greatest dynasties and the cyclical nature of existence. It serves as a poignant conclusion to the story of Krishna and the Yadavas, underscoring the themes of fate, detachment, and the impermanence of life. Thank you for watching. We have some amazing videos coming up, so stay tuned and make sure to hit the subscribe button.